Good evening. Now is the time and place for the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for the 14th day of February 2011. Public notice having been given and posted in compliance with the open meetings law, I now call the meeting to order. Before we begin with resolutions, I would ask for a moment of silence in memory of Bob Glore, who passed away since our last meeting. Bob was a village trustee for a couple of years back in the 80s when I first got involved. And then went on and served on our zoning board. So if you could join us in a moment of silence in his memory, we'll continue with the meeting. Thank you. That's yours, Joe.
Whereas members of this board present at the meeting have read the official minutes of the Board of Trustees regular meeting of January 24th, 2011, special meeting of January 31st, 2011. Now therefore be resolved, the board approves the minutes and an official minutes be further resolved, the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Any reports?
Yes, we have two reports, one from the police department for the month of January. A total number of incidents reported 724, arrests reported 95, vehicle and traffic 52, and 216 parking tickets.
Received and filed. Any other reports?
Yeah, we have the village justice report for the month of January. Total cases of 214, total fines and surcharges of $20,805.50. Parking tickets as part of that were $5,341.
Received and filed. Any other reports?
That's it for the reports.
Correspondence.
Correspondence was received from Carol Setner notifying the village that she will be renewing her on-premise liquor license for Eastside Grill, Inc., located on 22 Water Street in Fredonia.
Received and filed. Any other?
Correspondence was received from Sean Heenan of Low Group, Inc., doing business as Heenan's, notifying the village that they will be renewing their on-premise liquor license for premises located at 39 East Main Street in the village.
Received and filed. Any others?
Yes, correspondence was received from Cheryl and Chris Dirth, co-founders of Making Precious Strides, Inc., requesting approval to host Zach's 5K run and 1 mile fun walk on Sunday, May 1, 2011 to benefit Hunter's syndrome, subject to the use of sidewalks only.
Be it resolved, the request of Cheryl and Chris Dirth, co-founders of Making Precious Strides, Inc., is hereby approved to use village sidewalks for a 5K run and a 1 mile walk to benefit Hunter's syndrome on Sunday, May 1st, 2011, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., beginning at the Clinton Avenue Little League entrance, and includes several village streets. Ending back at Clinton Avenue Little League Field. This request is subject to the direction of the police department on the condition that the run walk be restricted to sidewalks only, and the village received a certificate of insurance in the amount of $1 million, naming the village as an additional insured.
Second.
I know we got that section where sidewalks is in parentheses. We could amend it before we vote on it to have it include several sidewalks adjacent to village streets.
So amended.
Okay. Any other corrections? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Any others?
Yes, a summons and complaint dated January 11, 2011 was received February 10, 2011 from attorneys Phillips Lytle, LLP, on behalf of Ruth Ann Panzica against the Village of Fredonia.
Sam, has that been sent on to the carrier?
Yes.
Should we send to both of our carriers just to be...
I called her.
We're already in with
Okay.
all agencies.
All right.
Yeah, I called Lawley and they said to submit it to selected that it's covered under that.
Okay, so it is under a selective still?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So it must have happened prior to January 1.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know we got the notice under the old carrier. The dates of this the filing is close to when the change was made in the carriers, and then now we get summons. So just want to make sure we have everybody noticed in case anyone objects and fails to give us coverage. Any other correspondence?
That's it for correspondence.
Now is the time and place for the public hearing on proposed local law number 1 of 2011, entitled Sexual Offender Residency Restrictions of the Village of Fredonia, New York. Proof of publication has been made in the Observer with the reproduction of the local law. At this time, I now call the public hearing to order. Anyone wishing to address the board, now is the time. Please stand, state your name, and let us know what you have regarding the local law, and the portion right now is only on that local law. Anyone that wishes to address the board on the local law? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing on the local law. Now we will continue to the public portion. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on any issue of interest. Please stand, state your name, and let us know what's on your mind. Is there anyone that wishes to address the public portion? There being no one, I will close the public portion and we'll go on with resolutions.
Whereas a public hearing was duly called and held before this Village Board of Trustees on 4th day of February 2011, the question of enactment of proposed local law number 1 of 2011 of the Village of Fredonia entitled Sexual Offender Residency Restrictions, and whereas a due proof publication notice of public hearing was presented to this board, and whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia is due serious in enacting a new chapter 233 of Code of Village of Fredonia entitled Sexual Offender Residency Restrictions, and whereas the proposed local law number 1 of 2011, the Village of Fredonia in its final form has been laid upon the desk of a member of the Board of Trustees at least 7 calendar days prior to this date, and now therefore being enacted by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia as follows. Section 1. The Code of the Village of Fredonia is hereby amended and added a new Chapter 233 entitled Sexual Offender Residency Restrictions, which shall read as follows. Chapter 233, Sexual Offender Residency Restrictions. A. The Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia finds and determines that the due recidivism rate among sexual offenders following their release from confinement, there exists a heightened potential for reoccurrence of their crimes when they reside, have employment, or frequent areas where children are likely to regularly congregate, such as public or non-public elementary, middle, and high schools, child care facilities, parks, playgrounds, public or private youth centers, or public swimming pools. B. The Village Board further determines that it is essential that the Village of Fredonia make effort to protect children from sex offenders who have committed sexual offenses against minors. C. The Village Board further determines that it is in the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the Village of Fredonia, and particularly its children, to establish residency restrictions on locations of employment, and other activities for sexual offenders who have committed sexual offenses against minors. D. It is the purpose of the chapter to prohibit sex offenders from residing, having employment, or otherwise entering or remaining within 1,000 feet of the areas and facility that would provide them easy access to potential victims. 233-2 definitions. As used in the chapter, the following terms shall have meaning indicated. Child care facility, a licensed and or registered nursery, preschool, child daycare center, group family daycare home, as defined by the New York State Social Services law. Child safety zone within 1,000 feet of real property compromising of public or private elementary, middle school, or high school child care facility, nature preserve, park, playground, public or private youth center, or public swimming pool, public or commercial recreational facility clearly designed to attract children. Employment, doing work whether or not for financial gain. Residence, a place where a person sleeps, which may include more than one location and may be mobile and transitory. Sexual offender, a person who has been convicted of a sexual offense against a minor is defined in paragraph 1 of 168A of the New York State Correctional Law and was received under Article 6 of the New York State Correctional Law, a level 2 sex offender designation who has been determined under said law to pose a moderate risk of committing another sexual crime, or a level 3 sex offender who have been determined under said law to pose a high risk of committing another sexual crime. Section 233-3, restrictions. A sex offender herein defined shall not reside within a child safety zone. B, a sex offender herein defined shall not have employment within a child safety zone or assigned work or site location with such child safety zone. C, a sex offender is herein defined as shall not loiter for the purpose of committing any crime within this child safety zone. D, sex offender is herein defined shall not granted any peddler's permit by the village or door-to-door sales or solicitation. Section 233-4, exceptions. A sex offender herein defined entering or remaining within a child safety zone does not commit a violation of the chapter if any of the following applies. A sex offender is serving a sentence of jail, prison, juvenile facility, or other correctional institution facility, or is inpatient in a hospital, hospice, mental health facility, or nursing home. B, The residency of the sex offender was established prior to the effective date of this chapter. C, the offender has established employment prior to the effective date of this chapter. D, the sex offender attends primary, secondary, or post-secondary school that would otherwise in violation of this chapter. However, the exception does not apply to an individual who initiates or maintains contact with minors within the child safety zone. E, sex offender only intermittently or sporadically enters a child safety zone for the purpose of work. However, the exception does not apply to an individual who initiates or maintains contact with a minor within the child safety zone. F, the sex offender is a minor or ward of the guardianship. However, this exception does not apply to an individual who initiates, maintains contact with a minor within the child safety zone. G, the sex offender enters a child safety zone for purposes of exercising the right to vote. However, the exception does not apply to an individual who initiates or maintains contact with a minor within the child safety zone. Section 2 through 3-5, relocation. Any person who resides or lives in the child safety zone, or defined in 233-2, shall have 90 days from receipt of the written notice of the provision set forth within the move, value to move the location, which compliance with the section within the time period shall constitute a violation of this chapter. Section 233-6, penalties for offenses. The first violation of provisions of the chapter shall be punishable by a fine up to $1,000 and imprisonment up to 15 days in jail. A second or subsequent violation shall be punishable by a fine up to $2,000 and imprisonment up to 30 days in jail. Section 233-7, enforcement. The Village of Fredonia Police Department shall have power to enforce the provisions of this chapter. Section 233-8, cessation of the restrictions. The restrictions of the fourth of the chapter shall cease when the sex offender is no longer required to register and verify pursuant to the New York State Correctional Law, Article 6C, the Sex Offender Registration Act. Section 2, the local law shall take effect immediately upon filing the local law with the Secretary of State of New York. Be it further resolved that the village clerk is hereby authorized to cause notice of the enactment of the said local law to be published in the Observer, and be further resolved that the village clerk is hereby authorized to file said local law number 1, 2011, the Secretary of State of New York.
We have a second.
Second.
Roll call vote now on this local law. Trustee Siri?
Yes.
Trustee McKay?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Brown?
Yay.
And the local law passes with a 5-0 vote.
Be resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized to sign financial audit certificate for the final grant application for the Village Rehabilitation Project EPF number 406001 and any other documents necessary to submit final grant application.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, this next resolution, I'm going to add a line to indicate the filing of 2 grants. Be it resolved that Michael J. Sullivan, Mayor of the Village of Fredonia, New York, is hereby authorized and directed to file an arbitrary grant and an application for 50% matching funds in the amount not to exceed $9,500 for a tree and management plan grant, and upon approval of said request to enter into and execute a project agreement with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for such financial assistance to the Village of Fredonia for tree inventory and management plan.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Be it resolved that the training request of Robert Lancaster, Chief Operator of the Water Filtration Plant, to attend New York's water event in Saratoga Springs, New York, from April 12th through the 14th of 2011 is hereby approved at no cost to exceed $663. This conference is sponsored by the New York State American Water Works Association.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Be resolved that Marcia A. Marions, 42 Roslyn Court, Fredonia, is hereby approved, or hereby appointed to the Fredonia Cable Television Advisory Board to serve a term, a 2-year term, effective immediately.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Be resolved that O'Brien and Gear Engineering of Syracuse, New York, be retained for engineering services for the preparation of a biddable drawing package with design specifications for the spillway access project at the Village Reservoir at a cost not to exceed $10,400 per their proposal dated January 28, 2011. The mayor is hereby authorized to sign a letter of agreement to this effect on behalf of the Village of Fredonia. The village attorney will draw the contract.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Be it resolved that the training request of Dan Aldridge, volunteer firefighter, to attend the basic wildland firefighting course at New York State Fire Academy in Montour Falls, New York, on March 17, 2011, is hereby approved at a cost not to exceed $25.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Be it resolved that the regular and overtime payrolls of the various village department bills approved by the Finance Committee and set forth in abstract number 414 are hereby approved and directed paid.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Be it resolved, the mayor is hereby authorized to sign a waiver on the 30-day liquor license notice for HWDS Inc., doing business as Muldoon's, 26 Water Street, Fredonia, if requested.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Are there any further resolutions? Anyone have any reports? Anything that makes Sue stay here right up till 8 o'clock?
Four score.
We'll now filibuster on the end of the meeting.
I have a dinner waiting for me at 8 o'clock. These guys have been nice enough to just move right along.
If nothing else to be said, motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in
Happy
favor?
Valentine's Day.
Aye.
Happy Valentine's Day.
We are adjourned.